On today's Strictly Vikings, we talk Vikings versus Packers, which ended up being a very eventful game. We take our side eye look around the league. We, of course, take our Facebook scroll of the week. We're going to look ahead to the Jets game in London. And of course, we'll end it off with our Chat GPT player of the day. Let's get into it. Today is Wednesday, October 2nd, and let the Minnesota Vikings title run begin. That's right. The Vikings proved to be one of, if not the best team in arguably all of the NFL on Sunday. 3-point underdogs in Lambeau Field. Everybody was ready for that first Vikings loss to come in dramatic fashion, but it sure didn't. And the stat that came out of this game, actually, it's a combined stat with the last 3 games, but the Vikings trailed for 0 seconds against the 49ers, Texans, and Packers. And you can shit on the Vikings for all you want for making that Packers game close, but the Packers didn't have the ball in the second half with a chance to take the lead. They had the ball in the second half at least down 2 scores every single time. So although that game did come down to an onside kick, there was never a chance to where the Packers could go down the field and score, which says something about the way the Vikings played. And obviously they were up 28 to nothing. And that was a dominating first half. And of course, that muffed punt flipped the momentum of the entire game. But you don't apologize for wins in the NFL, and you sure as hell don't apologize for being undefeated in the NFL. And no matter how those wins come, they're wins. And if you go 4-0 in the playoffs and just happen to trick your way to a Super Bowl, it counts as a Super Bowl. It doesn't matter how you win those games. It doesn't matter if they were close at the end. It doesn't matter how many yards you gave up in garbage time. If you win those games, you win the Super Bowl. And it doesn't matter how you do it. As long as you're winning, you keep doing what you're doing. And honestly, that was probably the best win the Vikings could have had. It exposed some things that they need to improve on. And as long as if you can come out of a game that you win and you know what you need to improve on for next week, that's very exciting. Kevin O'Connell is 21-0 when his team wins or breaks even in the turnover margin. This is unreal. This might be the perfect coaching stat of all time. Kevin O'Connell can't turn the ball over, or like Kevin O'Connell can't throw an interception. He can't fumble the ball. And the fact that he's undefeated when the offense takes care of the ball, and the defense can maybe steal a couple turnovers, get a couple interceptions, get a fumble recovery. And the fact that he's undefeated now, and I know that stat is just a little, of course, if you win the turnover margin, you have a greater chance of winning the game. But the fact that even if you break even, he's undefeated. That's a very exciting sign for Vikings fans to have as a head coach, and I love it. Packers fans, they always have excuses for when they lose to the Vikings. They're going to come out of that game saying Jordan Love was hurt, then why'd you play him? They're going to come out of that game saying we just ran out of time. That isn't that every. I think there's a Facebook post later in the pod that says that, but the Packers just ran out of time. Isn't that every game? Every team could win if they didn't run out of time. You never lose, you just run out of time. I used to say that about the Vikings, and I know it's a lame excuse because I used to say that about my Vikings. But they'll bring up the Super Bowl rings, and it'll be the crying mask emoji with the smiling face above it, and it'll be, well, enjoy your Super Bowl win, blah blah blah. Like, oh, the Vikings just won the Super Bowl. They beat the Packers in Lambeau. That's what they always think. And you know deep down they're hurting. They don't like losing to the Vikings because they think they're a superior franchise, and they might be, but they know they want to beat the Vikings every single time. And when they do beat the Vikings, all hell breaks loose. They'll get your tweets from 4 years ago that you said maybe something a little bit bad about the Packers, and they'll call you out on it. As soon as the Vikings lose to the Packers. It's unbelievable. But the Vikings are 4-0, and that's the biggest story coming out of this game. And I want to know how they respond to being number one, number two in the power rankings in the NFL. How they respond when the media is talking about them as a Super Bowl contender. How they respond as people calling them the best team in the entire NFC. I want to see what happens then. And I know Kevin O'Connell talks about it a lot. And he says that their mindset needs to be preparing for the next game every single day, and they need to limit those outside factors. And I think they're doing a good job of that right now. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the Vikings lose a game. I don't project them going undefeated the rest of the season. What happens when they lose a game? What happens when a guy gets hurt? We've already seen that, obviously, but what happens when another guy gets hurt? I just want to see them overcome adversity, which again, that stat, they haven't been trailing, so it's kind of tough to do that when you're just winning all the time, which isn't a bad thing. But the fact that we're nitpicking these things that we want to see from this team, a 4-0 team, we're nitpicking, trying to find things that we want to see from this football team. And that's a very encouraging sign for this squad. I mean, you could pick out a million other things that the Vikings could improve on if they were 2-2 or 1-3. But no, we're sitting here 4-0. We haven't lost a game. We didn't trail against three of the best teams in the NFL, and we're rolling. And we're going to London, and we're going to preview that in a little bit. But London is going to be a very winnable game against a Jets team that is struggling to get it together. Let's go through some game notes here. I'm going to start with the offense, as I always do. Darnold leads the NFL in passing touchdowns with 11. If you told me through 1 month of the season the touchdown leader in the NFL would be Sam Darnold, I would be ecstatic. And here we are. I'm ecstatic. As much as I might not look like it, I'm ecstatic. That Jordan Addison touchdown looked awfully familiar to the one last season at Lambeau Field. And I just happened to be there and was screaming and yelling in front of all those Packers fans, but it looked awfully familiar. And this team might just be better than that one that was in Lambeau Field last season. That was the peak of the 2023 Vikings, Lambeau Field last season. And it's looking a lot similar. But Jordan Addison looks an awful lot like Stephon Diggs out there. And the fact that you might have Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson on the same team, Jordan Addison could be better than Stephon Diggs, for all I know. But if you can just imagine, go back to those Stephon Diggs days when he was unbelievable, 2017, and you put Justin Jefferson on that team, man, you have no idea how good this offense can be and how dangerous this unit is to the rest of the league. But Jordan Addison looks an awful like Stephon Diggs. Dan Orlovsky said the screen game from the Vikings is one of the best in the league, and I couldn't agree more. I watched the video that he said, and although these screens on 2nd and 10 maybe don't go for a first down, they're setting up 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and those are a lot higher percentage to complete than 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. And the fact that we have an offensive line that's played together for quite some time now, it's a real advantage in the NFL. Those guys being able to get out and block for Aaron Jones, who has shown all the explosiveness in the world through 4 weeks, is a real advantage the Vikings have against other teams in the NFL. And being able to just change the pace of the D line, it slows the defensive line down. It makes them think for just a half a second longer. Is this too sweet? That's what coaches would say. Defensive line has to read is it too sweet? Am I getting to the quarterback way too easy right now? You got to be able to recognize those screens, and that little bit of hesitance from the defensive line can make all the difference in a game. And being able to keep the defense on their toes with that screen game to Jefferson, to Jones, to Ty Chandler, that's huge. And I love that from Kevin O'Connell, and I love that he keeps calling those plays because he calls them in the perfect time. It seems like all the Packers could really do early and often in this game was commit penalties and hope the refs didn't see it. And I don't blame them. They were down there 2 starting cornerbacks, and when you're down 2 starters, when you're down two starting cornerbacks and you're going up against Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, not to mention Jalen Naylor, you're going to have to hold at top of routes. You're going to have to try and find some sort of advantage because you're not going to beat these guys one on one. And going into the game, I didn't think the Packers were going to run zone all that often, and they didn't. Or no, I didn't think they were going to run man all that often, and they didn't. They had to run a lot of zone, which was smart. You can't cover these guys one on one. And when you tried to, you saw what happened. Jordan Addison, first possession of the game, just scooted right by the corner. Bye bye. Justin Jefferson bangs off his chest plate and hangs onto the ball. One on one coverage against Keyshawn Nixon. Are we being for real, Green Bay? Just disrespectful, man. What the hell do you think is going to happen? Best wide receiver in the league against the goddamn kick returner. What do we think is going to happen in that matchup? Just disrespectful. But man, like all the Packers corners could do is just commit penalties. And they were hoping the refs didn't see them, but the refs saw a lot of them and the Vikings were getting bailed out. Not really bailed out. They were just, Vikings couldn't do anything. They were just getting penalties. Justin Jefferson is special. And let me tell you about that gritty. That gritty, when it's hit on Lambeau Field, when it's the purple and gold doing it, man, does it look beautiful. Does it look beautiful? Justin Jefferson just gritting through that end zone at all those fans that just smell like beer and cheese and ready to root on Jordan Love. And oh man, I just love it. I love when he hits the gritty right in front of all those fans because I know how much it pisses them off. All the old heads, they're going to say, why can't they just give the ball to the ref and run back to the sideline? That's what all the guys did. That's what all the guys did back in my day. Pops, this ain't the Stone Age no more. Guys, celebrate. It's a fun league, the NFL is. You got to celebrate. You got to get the clicks. You got to get the marketing. It's all in the grand scheme of things, and the gritty is just one small part of it. And man, do I love it, especially when it's in that Lambeau Field end zone. I love it. Sam Darnold's beard is getting a lot thicker. And man, if he keeps it for until the Vikings lose a game, so say they win in London, there's a week. Then they have a bye week. There's a week. And then another week until the next game. The Vikings just might keep winning, and Sam Darnold's going to have to keep growing out that beard. And if we make it to the Super Bowl, that beard might be the length. That beard might be down to his freaking belly button, for all I know. But I just noticed, I saw it on the sideline, and I'm like, that beard is getting thick. And he's kind of got a red beard like me, but mine's not nearly as thick as his. No diddy, but I kind of already mentioned this, but the offensive line is playing great. And when was the last time you could truly say that as a Vikings fan? It's a rare occurrence to where we can sit here and say, man, Vikings offensive line is great. And we got to appreciate that. We got to soak it all in because we lived through years and years and years of the Vikings not having a good offensive line. And it's just refreshing to see a left tackle that can shut down anyone, a right tackle that can shut down anyone, and three guys in the middle that can hold their own and have great chemistry. And the screen game is working, like I mentioned earlier, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. We just got to take it all in. Lean back, smell the roses. The Vikings are undefeated. Take it all in. It's amazing. It's awesome. Let's switch to the defense here. After the win, this Vikings defense leads the league in sacks with 17, quarterback hits with 17, pressures with 50, interceptions with 8. I think we're tied with the Packers in that stat. Pass deflections in 32 and tackles for loss with 26. I think we're tied with 2 other teams with that one as well. But man, that leading the league in all of those major stats is awesome. And I know Brian Flores blitzes a lot, and that's fine. When the blitz is effective, which, to be honest, it wasn't that effective against Green Bay, but when it was the first 3 games of the season, you're going to get results like that. And results like that win you games. And the Brian Flores F it, we blitz meme lives true because that's pretty much all he did on Sunday. He knew Jordan Love was wounded, and he looked wounded. And it took him a half to get into the swing of things, but he knew he wasn't going to be able to run around, and he took advantage of that. But that is one thing that I noticed is that when they didn't get home, usually bad things happened, which it isn't concerning. It's like when you blitz and you don't get home, bad things are usually going to happen for that defense. Sometimes you make up for it, which Cam Bynum, Byron Murphy, they were making plays in the secondary, which was nice to see. Same with Shaq Griffin. But you'd like to see the rushers get home. And I think the Packers were the first game I saw that really neutralized that pressure. I mean, the Texans couldn't hang, the 49ers couldn't hang, and God knows the Giants couldn't hang with all that pressure coming at them. But I'm interested to see how Brian Flores switches it up throughout the season. You know, he's going to have to mix it up. You know, he's going to have to get cute with it. And I think it's going to work no matter what because we just have the dogs and the players that Brian Flores wants on this defense, and he's going to be able to figure it out. I don't think it's a I don't think it's a thing to be worried about at all. Dallas Turner only played 11 snaps, which seems a little odd. I don't know if it was the scheme, if he's still coming back from that injury, what it may be. Just 11 snaps, he really seemed like a non-factor in that game. And like I said, the Packers did a great job picking him up. So picking the blitz up. So maybe they just wanted veteran guys in there to make plays and guys that they trusted more than maybe a rookie playing in his fourth game. Or actually third game since he missed the week before. Camus Grigger Hill was a big question mark heading into the season for me. If Ivan Pace or Blake Cashman went down and I knew Hill needed to come in to replace those guys, I was worried because I didn't know what we were going to get from him. We signed him for like $1.6 million in the offseason, and I had no idea what we were getting from him. And all he's done is stepped up and make plays. And I credit Brian Flores a lot because I know he has these guys prepped and ready to go to where they can just fly around. We talked about it on last week's episode. But it's refreshing to have the defensive coordinator that can have a backup linebacker come in, feel confident enough to make plays, and then go make them happen. I mean, he was a game changer in that game. And to be honest with you, when Ivan Pace comes back, Hill might be coming in getting some reps. If Cashman or Pace needs a rest, I think he's good to come in. And I think he's worked his way into a rotational spot in this defense. And it's really good to see because you need that depth on defense because you know there's going to be guys that get hurt. So it's really good to see Hill step up and make some plays. Patrick Jones, whatever you had in the offseason, I need a little bit of that. I mean, let's just cut to the chase here. You were not good last season. Patrick Jones was not good. This season, he's amazing. He's getting home. And of course, he's benefiting from those blitzes, but he's finishing off tackles. He's finishing off sacks. That's an underrated value of a defensive lineman, being able to finish sacks because a lot of guys miss them. Those bigger quarterbacks get there. Jordan Love is a bigger guy, being able to shake off those arm tackles, those arm sacks. He finishes off sacks, and it's refreshing to see. But man, whatever you had in the offseason, I need a little bit of that because you were not looking like this last season. And I need to up my gym game and I need to up my podcast game. So if you could just send whatever you got to my crib so I can use it a little bit, that'd be great. And it'd be much appreciated. And then the last thing I had about this, oh wait, no. And overall, the defense played solid in the second half. The offense set them up with a short field on the strip sack. Jalen Naylor set them up with a short field on the muffed punt. And then one of the touchdowns, the Vikings were just playing shell. And again, I think Brian Flores is going to adjust to that to where I don't think you can play shell like that. When you're playing a quarterback like Jordan Love that can just air it out and has a great arm. But a lot of those touchdowns were short fields or you were just not trying to allow a big play. And again, those Jordan Love passing yards were very inflated because the Vikings were playing some very, very, very soft defense in that fourth quarter. Overall, fantastic game from the Vikings. Should have closed it out in the second half, but you can't be mad about a win in Lambeau. And you just need to keep pressing forward. We won the game. We're 4-0. We don't play the Packers for a while now. Let's get on our high horse, win against the Jets, go into the bye undefeated, and we'll reassess from there work on what we need to work on. All right, let's start our side eye look around the league. I'm just going to take a quick look around the NFC, AFC, entire NFL. Of course, talk about the NFC North. We just talked about the Packers. I might have to start calling this segment the Bears segment because I always start with them, and they looked better. Once again, their offensive line is terrible. Caleb Williams looked like he's becoming more of a capable quarterback. He's getting a lot more confidence. And apparently they had a sit down with Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator. Like they had an intervention with him. The players had an intervention with Shane Waldron about the play calling, telling him he needs to be more aggressive. And the fact that your rookie quarterback is coming to you, telling you what to do, a little bit concerning, but at least he's got the balls to do it. And it looked like it worked. I mean, the Bears played a decent offensive game. Just their offensive line is freaking terrible. DeAndre Swift looked better after everybody during the entire week was just bashing him. So maybe that's what he needed to get going. The Lions are looking more like last year's Lions. The defense doesn't look good at all. I mean, the Seahawks were lighting them up. And even the drives where the Seahawks didn't score, it was like a bad turnover from DK Metcalf or a blatant missed or that offensive pass interference call on the Seahawks. Like that was just a terrible call. The Lions offense is nasty and the play calling is nasty and these guys can do it all. I mean, their wide receivers are throwing touchdown passes to their quarterbacks. This offense can do it all. But that Lions defense is suspect, man. And I think that's where the Vikings have an edge. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, nobody can cover those guys. And if we're playing Detroit when TJ Hawkinson gets back, which I think we will, Detroit is going to have their freaking hands full with those guys. And they looked good. And I never thought they were bad. I just think it took them a while to get back into the groove of being the Lions. And now they're back, and now they're looking good. The Ravens might be the best team in the NFL behind the Vikings, though. First of all black uniforms on a Sunday night, you're never going to win that game if you're facing the Ravens. If the Ravens are wearing all blacks on a Sunday night, it's dark out, that crowd is buzzing, and Derrick Henry pops an 85-yard touchdown on your head to start the game, game over. You might as well just head back into the locker room, start the bus, head to the airport, go home, get a good night rest of sleep because you're not winning that game. And right from the get-go, you could tell the Bills were not ready to defend that run. And my God, when you got Derrick Henry, Tractacito, coming down 300 pounds, no diddy, 250 pounds, running right at you, and then they can switch it up with skinny Lamar Jackson just blazing right by you with his speed, elusiveness, and agility. I don't know who's stopping this run game. And if your defense can't stop the run, you're going to have a long, long, long night playing the Ravens. But man, wearing those all black unis on a Sunday night, you're never going to win that game. The Bills got scammed, to be honest. The Bills are still good. But man, the Ravens are just those all black unis. I can't get over them. Rashee Rice probably out for the season, but it's the Chiefs and they'll find a way. They'll probably sign Devontae Adams or somebody. But it's crazy that Mahomes threw a pick and then on the same play, he took out his best wide receiver for the entire season. And it's not confirmed yet. I'm not trying to put anything out there, but just the way that people are talking is there's no way Rashee Rice is going to come back this season. And like I said, just sign Devontae Adams and you guys will be cool. I mean, Devontae on the Chiefs would go crazy. Devontae in red would look weird, though. Because green and yellow obviously look normal with the Packers. Even the black looks fine with Devontae. But the red would look weird. He'd look like him and Xavier Worthy would look similar, but Devontae is just way bigger. I'm not sure if you guys have watched the Raiders this season, but Alexander Mattison has some juice out of nowhere. The NFL, if you're listening to this, you might want to drug test Alexander Mattison because that dude did not have that juice last year. I mean, he's catching passes out of the backfield, and he's looking like freaking Darren Sproles out there the way he's running. He didn't look like There wasn't one shade of that from last season with Alexander Madison. He handicapped this run game and this screen game so much, and it's being exposed so much now that Aaron Jones is in Minnesota. But I'm telling you, NFL, Alexander Madison does not have this much juice. You got to you. I love Alexander Madison. I talked to him before. I've met him. He's a great guy, and I hope the best for him. But he did not look like this last season, and I don't know if he was just trying to shit on the Vikings or whatever it was, but he did not look like this last season. Maybe he looks faster in black, but I feel like black and purple are pretty similar. Both dark colors. I don't know. But Alexander Madison did not have this juice last season. Jaden Daniels and the Commanders are a legit team. I mean, Jaden Daniels, I'm going to say it every single week on this podcast. I put money on him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I know it's going to hit because I knew he was the best quarterback coming out of college. As much hype as Caleb Williams got, Jaden Daniels has improved in college every single year. And he was an absolute stud last season. He won the Heisman Trophy. And I don't, and if I think if it wasn't for, I think if he was a traditional 3 and done guy and not a 5 and done guy, he might have gone number 1 overall. It's just that Caleb Williams was just scratched in as the number 1 overall pick for so many years. The Bears couldn't do anything about it. But I honestly think Jane Daniels might have a better career than Caleb Williams. Jaden Daniels, the Commanders have the Texans vibes from last season. That's what they have. Dan Quinn, great head coach. Cliff Kingsbury, great offensive coordinator, running that college offense, but the college offense works. It works. And Jane Daniels is just good. And Terry McLaurin is just good. Austin Eckler is revamped, and Brian Robinson is a tank. He's a tank. But man, the Commanders are a very good team, and they're a legit threat in the NFC. And then sticking in that division, the Eagles look terrible. They were very shorthanded, and it showed. I have no idea how they were favored in that game, and I fell for the trap. I told myself, there's no way the Eagles win this game. There is no way the Eagles should be favored, but I still bet the Eagles because Vegas knew something I didn't, and obviously they didn't know anything. But I thought Vegas knew something that I didn't, and that's why I bet on the Eagles. Those trap lines just don't make any sense to me, and that's why I did it. But, they lost. They were shorthanded. I think they'll be all right. I think they'll make the playoffs, but I think the Commanders might be the favorite to win that division right now. Let me look through the rest of the games. Titans-Dolphins. My God, was that the worst football game I maybe have ever watched in my entire life. Thank God for 2 Monday night games because Dolphins-Titans was on the TV with no volume the entire night. Meanwhile, what was the other game? Lions-Seahawks was on the TV with the volume. That's a fun game. It looked like I was watching 2 different sports, to be honest with you. That Dolphins game was terrible. And if you have Tyreek and Jalen Waddle in fantasy, you can't even start them right now. Tyler Snoop Huntley, I feel bad for the dude. He just got there, but my God, did he look terrible. Yeah, I mean, I love the 2 Monday night games just because if you get a game like Dolphins Titans and it ends like that, it's just like, damn, dude, this sucks. I wasted my Monday night watching this game. All right, that concludes our side. I look around the league. Vikings are good. The rest of the league is not. Facebook scroll of the week. Here we go. It's a good one. This is just my daily scroll through Facebook. If you're a new listener, Vikings fans on Facebook have the best and most outlandish takes of all time. And I don't say names, but go join a couple Vikings groups and you can probably find out who posted them. Someone said second half is on coaches, period. They typed out period and then did another period. Same players, different scheme, different play calls. Hope they learn from this. See, I don't think it's all on the coaches. I think it's just, Packers just started to make some plays and the defense got scammed on a couple short fields, and that's what this guy fails to realize is that they got caught with some short fields. They're playing some loose defense, and you could blame some of that on Brian Flores, of course, but I don't think you can sit here and just say, yep, it's all on the coaches, same players. It's the same players. They should be able to do the exact same thing they did in the first half and the rest of the season, no matter what. Nope, not how the NFL works. Um, Skull Nation, list your song that describes the feeling about the Vikings. Like to hear your choice. Mine is Olivia Newton-John, Magic. Have to, have to believe in magic. Nothing can stand in our way. Hey, that's true. And McFadden and Whitehead, ain't no stopping us now. Give a listen and post your song. I believe we going all the way. Yeah, we going all the way. I think my song to represent the Vikings would be, man, I'm trying to think. I don't know. I always think Immigrant Song by I think it's by Led Zeppelin. I always think them because that's what they'd run out to in the Metrodome. But if I was going to a song like right now, it'd probably be like Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. I think really gives off Vikings vibes and like undefeated vibes and just like left, right, oh, up, down, yeah. I don't know. Listen to the song maybe like 3 times, but give it a listen. I think that represents the Vikings really well. Um, someone said, I propose that the Cousins Crusaders be suspended from all social media for spreading misinformation for the past 5 years. I'm not opposed to this. I wouldn't call myself a cousin crusader, but first of all, calling yourself a cousin crusader is crazy. Like being a die-hard Kirk Cousins fan is just weird, considering the fact that he has like 2 playoff wins ever and like backing up a guy that hasn't really had that much success in the NFL and just being like, God, Kirk Cousins is my guy. Like, it's just weird. And Cousin Crusader is just a weird name. And I don't know if that's like an official title, but it's just weird to be a Cousin Crusader. And I don't know if there's anyone actually in the world that calls themselves that. And I sure hope not. But I don't think people were spreading misinformation. I think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback and he put up great numbers. He just couldn't win big games. That was his thing. And he won some big games when he was in Minnesota, and it took some time for him to kind of for fans to get adjusted to what we were getting out of Kirk Cousins. It was just always a money thing. It wasn't that Kirk Cousins was bad. It was just we weren't getting the return on investment for what we were paying him. And I think that's what got people the most. But banning Cousins Crusaders from social media for 5 years, that's fine with me. Go ahead and do what you got to do. Um, Someone said the group needs to come up with a nickname for Sam Darnold. Any suggestions? I vote for Ginger Ninja. See, I love that because I'm a Ginger Ninja and he's a great Ginger Ninja and he's representing for all gingers in the world right now. And I think that's awesome. I've seen Slingin' Sammy. I've seen, what else have I seen? Something like Darnold, Dot and Darnold, or I don't even know, something like that. I think that's stupid. You can just call him Sam Darnold. You don't need to call him anything. But Ginger Ninja, I don't mind that at all. Um, let's not be satisfied with one Super Bowl win. Let's be the dynasty of the 2020s. This is Vikings Facebook to a freaking T right here. The Vikings start 4-0, and we're already talking dynasty. We're talking not one Super Bowl. We're talking dynasty of the 2020s. The Minnesota Vikings and the Kansas City Chiefs, the dynasty of the 2020s. Maybe the Vikings rip off 3 in a row. Maybe the Chiefs win this year, and then the Vikings win 4 in a row, and they take over this decade. Could happen. Wait, if they don't win this year, yeah, you could win. You could still win 4 in a row. Maybe. But let's not be satisfied with one Super Bowl. We don't have one yet. We have 0. But when we get that one, let's not be satisfied. Let's get 4 more. Let's get 5 more. Let's turn this thing into a dynasty. Let's not get satisfied with 4-0. Let's be the dynasty of the 2020s. I love this energy. And although it's so outlandish, I love this energy. Not one Super Bowl, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5. Let's be a dynasty. Let's not be satisfied with one Super Bowl that we don't have. Let's not be satisfied there. Let's go get 6. Let's go get 7. All right. So this one said, this is my take on the team so far this year. This team is not very talented. First of all, freaking outlandish take. Absolutely outlandish. You got a top three offensive tackle. You got a top one wide receiver. You got another wide receiver that's up and coming in this league, probably top 15 right now. You got one of the best running backs in the NFL. You got one of the best tight ends in the NFL. And we're just talking offense. Then you got the best safety trio in the NFL. You got a decent group of corners. You got three edge rushers that are at top of their game right now. And you got two inside linebackers that are absolutely balling. So calling this team not very talented is an outlandish statement. They go on to say, so far we are benefiting from two excellent coaches. I don't disagree. We have two excellent coaches, and we are benefiting from them. After a few weeks, the other teams will get book on what we're doing, and our talent will not carry us. Again, just absolutely outlandish. I love how we went from talking about being the dynasty of the 2020s to calling this team untalented. That is the discrepancy of what Vikings Facebook is. Someone said the stupid nickname y'all gave the defense is the reason they struggled in the second half. Purple Haze, I think that's what we're calling this defense. Again, it's a decent nickname for a defense. Purple Haze, I don't know. Just anything with purple people eaters is cool. Purple Haze just seems like soft. I don't know. It sounds like just a color at like Home Depot that you would buy, and it's just like not very intimidating, I feel like. Someone said, it's crazy that if Kirko had the second half that Love had, he would be shit on for garbage time. But since it was Love, it was a good effort. Guy had 3 interceptions on the day and cruised on a prevent defense. This is pretty accurate. If Kirk Cousins did put up those stats, people would be like, yeah, no, it was all just garbage time, dude. They were losing the entire game. He didn't do anything. Yeah, but then Packers fans see Jordan Love does it, and it's like, oh my God, this dude is freaking Brett Favre. This dude is Aaron Rodgers. This dude is the next great Packers quarterback, and we all believe it because he can't be anything else. He either has to be really bad or he has to be the next all-time great Packers quarterback. There's nowhere in between. And I think that's what people forget. Someone said a win is a win, but this felt like more of Packers ran out of time. Every team runs out of time if they lose in the NFL. You can say that about any team. The Dolphins lost last night, but they just ran out of time. They were going to figure it out 12 quarters later. Don't worry about it. Someone said, what? Oh, color me cynical. Probably call me cynical. But if Green Bay hits those 2 field goals, we lose. I hope some adjustments are made by B-Flow for Aaron, or we are going to get picked apart. First of all, Aaron does not look like a good quarterback right now. We're not going to be picked apart by Aaron Rodgers. And 2, if Green Bay hits those 2 field goals, this game is played completely different. People don't realize that if you just make those 2 field goals, the Vikings just play that game out the exact same way they did. That is just not the case. It just doesn't make any sense. Someone said, a lot of you are making up for work after a Viking. A lot of you are waking up for work after a Viking win over the Packers in Minnesota, and I'm sure that's a great feeling. However, going to work on a Monday as a Viking fan in Wisconsin, priceless. That's why you do it, folks. I don't know why you would be a Viking fan living in Wisconsin, because why would you ever want to live in Wisconsin? That just doesn't make any sense, but I can't even imagine being there. That concludes our Vikings Facebook scroll of the week. That was awesome. I like that segment a lot. Vikings punishments. If you guys are new to the show, I do punishments. I have a list of punishments that I have to do if the Vikings lose to the corresponding team. This week, it was drink a 6-pack of spotted cow and I eat a large cheese curd from Culver's. I know it's not that much of a punishment, but I was planning on doing quite a few of these throughout the season, but I haven't even done one yet. So obviously, I did not have to do that. But if the Vikings lose this upcoming week to the Jets, I have to do a day's worth of Achilles physical therapy. I have absolutely no idea what that consists of, but I know it's not going to be good. I've never done physical therapy in my life, and I heard it sucks. But I feel like it sucks because you're working out a thing that is really like trying to get back into the swing of it. And I feel like my Achilles are pretty good right now. So I feel like if I do it, it won't be that bad. But we're going to find out. Let's get into it. Vikings versus Jets preview. The boots are going to be on the ground. I'm going to be in London for the game. First time overseas, first time in England, first time in London, first time across the pond. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be rooting on my Vikings. And it's going to feel very surreal seeing a Vikings game in a different country. But I'm very excited. Very, very, very excited. And I cannot wait. Um, and it might be honestly the first Vikings versus Rodgers matchup I've ever looked forward to because the way he's playing right now, I can see this defense just absolutely tearing apart. And I hope he does it. And I think the defense will get it done for sure. This Jets offensive line is going to get destroyed, or they're going to play out of their shoes like they haven't all year, and they're just going to put on a Hall of Fame performance because they're playing the Vikings because that's just what happens to the Vikings. So we'll see what happens, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rodgers and that offensive line just turn into the greatest show on turf because they're in a different country and they're playing the guys in purple. But we'll see. Um, it's going to be a great test for this Vikings offense. It might be the best defense they've played all season. They got the guys. They got a lockdown corner to follow Justin Jefferson if he does do that. But it's going to be a great opportunity for Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, Aaron Jones to step up, especially this offensive line dealing with the Jets defensive line and Quinnen Williams. It's going to be a great test. It's going to be a great test for this Vikings offense. Toughest test all year. Maybe the Niners might be a little tougher. I don't know. We're going to find out. But defensive-minded head coach that's not good, first of all. But we'll see how this Vikings offense shakes out. I have confidence, but we'll see. All right. We're going to end with our random ChatGPT Vikings player of the day. And I think I'm going to go with, I think last week it was Kene and Wagwu. Who's like the same beat as that? I'm going to go Cordero Patterson. Why not? And it is. How about Jarius Wright? Wow, I could have gotten that one too. Low key, same beat as Kennedy. Nah, wide receiver. He was a solid wide receiver for the Vikings, known for his clutch plays, but often flies under the radar. As does Jarius Wright as a Minnesota Viking. He does fly under the radar. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Can't wait to be in London for the Vikings game. Going to be an absolute blast. Make sure to follow me on socials. Message me about anything Vikings, anything Minnesota. I will answer. Strictly Leighton on TikTok or Instagram. Again, I appreciate you guys for tuning in.